These are some of the gifts of the land: porcupine quill and birch bark containers. The elders will be teaching the young people how to use the material that the Creator has given us. A corn husk mat. Some were so big they'd cover the whole floor of our wetu and longhouses. Beautiful pottery from yesterday and today. This was actually made by Cassius's grandmother. Go out and collect the cattails. You can weave the cattails and hold them together. They could be on the outside of your wetu or wigwam, and inside would be bulrush mats that were woven together. And when you have a fire inside, the water in the bulrush mats would heat up, so it was like having steam heat. And in the summertime, if you go into a wigwam and they have the cattail mats on the outside and the reeds on the inside, then it's cooler, about 15 degrees cooler than outside. So there was a reason for everything. Now we have to fight phragmite, which is something we didn't have, that kind of overtakes where the grass grows that we need for our longhouses and wigwams. Cedar is very sacred. We use it in our ceremonies. Cedar, sage, sweetgrass, and kinnikinnick or tobacco. When we put that on the fire and the smoke comes up, then we know that the Creator is hearing our prayers and our words.
Our next season that we're going to be thinking about is Papone, or winter. And the winter time is a beautiful time here. It's a time of cleansing. The snow comes down, so Chipoich, or the snow, comes down and cleans the air and purifies our lands. It's also a time to come together one last time in the early winter for Nakomo, a celebration of the last of the harvests, and coming together and sharing with those in our community that maybe don't have as much, the elders, and you give gifts. But it's not the gifts the way you think of gifts today, where you kind of exchange with each other and we have the excess idea of today. It's more about making sure everyone has what they need and looking at those that are less fortunate. In our community, the one that gives the most away is the richest, not the one that has the most. It's kind of a complete difference of philosophy. And during the winter months, we spent lots of time. You had the beauty of hearing Paula's wonderful different stories that have been passed down in all our generations to us. And during the winter months, that's when the elders would share those stories in our nushquitos and squishquitos, the houses of 2 and 3 fires, the long houses, where it's kind of like a modern condo. More than one family lives in the same place. We would be together and we would share these things, and the elders would share the stories, the history, the traditions, and they'd be passed down generation to generation to this day. And it's very important for us. And even inside, some games to keep the young entertained would be involved. And so the winter months are very much a blessing, because it's a time when family, just even in the modern day society, family comes together for different events and things like that. I did want to give you a chance, if you had any questions, because we can talk a while. We don't want to give you no opportunity if you had any questions for us. No questions, huh? Behind us is a cup and saucer rock. It was a means of communications that we had. And if you look around South County, you'll see these rocks in the woods on the sides of roads and things. Those roads once were Narragansett passes that got turned into roads that we use today. And there's a special way, if you say just the right prayer, and you stand on the bottom rock, because it's a rock on top of a rock, actually, and you rock it back and forth just so. It reverberates through the ground to the next cup and saucer rock, and that's how we sent messages from one village to the other. And I have to say, my children and I actually went out with my mother in the woods and went to a cup and saucer rock, and she taught us just the right thing. And my children, who are now 15 and 13, the boys, this was about 4 years ago now, 2 or 3 years ago anyway, they actually were able to rock the rock, which is an amazing thing to do, because when you just push on it with brute force, it doesn't move, not even a lick. So it's very exciting to be able to do that. This is just a beautiful picture. You can tell it's modern day because it's actually a road, but it just was pretty, and so I wanted to put you in the feel of the winter. Sochipo, which means it is snowing. The snow is Sochipo, and it's just a beautiful time of the year. But there's still lots of beauty in the forest during the winter months, and there's that tracking and making of snowshoes and going out into the forest and hunting and looking for the different animal tracks. Even to this day, just teaching the youth to be observant of that and take the reverence and introspection of that, even if you're not actually hunting, to take the time to see the beauty in all four seasons, because that makes us who we are in Rhode Island. I mean, as the indigenous people here, the Narragansett, we are our environment, what we did, what we eat, what we, today we can go to McDonald's, but back in the day you couldn't do that. So what we eat and how we live and the tools and the implements that we use, the baskets for storing our things in our homes are all wrapped up in the environment, and which is why we think the ecology of Mother Earth is so, so important, that it really makes us who we are. And all of you as Rhode Islanders are privy to the same ecological system and the beauty of it. So we hope that you enjoy that. This is a picture of one of my nephews finger weaving. We had elders at the school that came in and shared finger weaving and twining. And these are some of the things that you would do inside your nushquito during the winter months. You would have already harvested the dog bane and turned it into the usable string, and then now you'd be sitting there weaving, getting ready for the next things that you need during the winter months. And so we just wanted to share some of these things. There's so many other things that we could share, but we wanted to share some of these things with you, and hopefully you'll take the importance of Mother Earth and think of it from a Narragansett perspective and how we think about the earth and how important it is to us. So, tabatne, katabatash. And any last questions? No one? Everyone's shy today?
There's one gentleman over here.
Yes.
How many indigenous groups are there in Rhode Island?
Well, the Narragansett is the formal indigenous group of Rhode Island. Our land area actually originally took all of Rhode Island, a little piece of southeastern Connecticut and southwestern Massachusetts. And so that was, in the day, there was also the Niantic, which has, after King Philip's War or during King Philip's War, merged together, which I'm of Narragansett and Niantic heritage. But there's about just under 3,000 Narragansett, but there are a lot of other indigenous people that live in the area. A good friend of mine, she's Cherokee, I'm Choctaw and Cherokee from like North Carolina area. So there's lots of folks that have moved in that are indigenous as well, but aren't originally from this area.
And when I looked for a husband, everybody I brought home, they told me they were my cousin. So I found a creek from Mississippi.
My other aunt, she married a Choctaw from Mississippi, band Choctaw. I married a Narragansett. He's far enough removed.
Okay. Thank you all.
Thank you, Katabatash.
Thanks for watching. This podcast series is presented by Tamaclog Museum. Visit our website at www.tamaclogmuseum.org. Tamaclog Arts programs are sponsored by Amica Insurance. Auto, home, life, Amica. Support this and other great podcast content at our Patreon page, www.patreon.com/Artways.